How do I get my first customers once I launch my MVP? I get this question all the time from the founders that we have in the Founders Forum community here at Minimal Viable Launch. I think it is the wrong question to ask, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. You do not need to launch your MVP before you can get your first customers. In fact, that process should have started long before a single line of code has been written. I'm going to show you here what I mean. We can map the difficulty of closing new customers using this little graph here, which is on the top, we have high difficulty of closing. And on the bottom, we have low difficulty. And any buying decision that your potential customers are making are based on know, like, trust factor. This is the process in which they get to know your brand, they get to know your solution, they get to know you and your team. They evaluate you against a range of solutions potentially, and they make a purchasing decision on who they like the most, who they know the most, who has delivered the most value to them, okay? And so here we have high know, like, trust factor. This is the thing that your marketing machine is designed to grow, okay? You're going to start getting your first customers by approaching the warmest people in your network, in your community, in your audience that you already have. There is no way, especially if this is your first startup and you haven't had a multi $10 million exit, let's say, that you know enough about marketing in order to close absolute strangers off the bat. You're going to have to warm your audience up, okay? So low difficulty, high difficulty. This is the difficulty of closing a customer. So closing difficulty. Closing just means to make a sale with someone. That's what we have here on this axis, okay? And what we need to be doing with your startup is we start here and there is this curve that happens. This very steep curve that happens, that the people who know you most right now, your friends, your family, your close acquaintances and network connections, maybe your old colleagues, they know you most. They will try your software out. They will feedback on your idea. They'll join your early adopter community, your beta testing community, without you having to be a great marketer and be really sophisticated in branding, content creation, or paid advertising. They'll just join. All it requires is that you ask, and you must start your journey as a startup founder down here, okay? You need to operate in this little section here, that you take the lowest hanging fruit that you have within your network, you approach them and you ask them to try your idea out. You ask them to talk about the problem. You ask them to join your waitlist or your discussion group. Most of you are starting all the way up here. You're trying to close the highest difficulty targets that you've got in your market because you're going for the coldest audiences. It's not going to happen. I see so many startup founders burning through thousands of pounds of Google ad spend, Meta ad spend, in order to try and desperately get customers, and they thrash around and they get no results because they're trying to do customer acquisition at scale out of the gate. You are not ready. Your startup is not ready for that moment. You need to keep it intentionally small, ask the closest people you've got, and expand out slowly as you go. So when people ask me the question, how do I get my first customers after I launch my MVP? I say this should have started long before we started to design, because down here where you're closing these people, you have a range of options that you can go after in order to build a sale, a close, right? A sale doesn't necessarily mean they give you their credit card information and now they're using your product. Your job as the founder is to build a community, a group of people who know who you are, like what you do, and at some point in the future may buy your product. First of all, we have beta community, okay? We get people into an early adopter, a beta testing / early adopter community. We get people into those so that we have emails, we have a group of people that we know, we've validated, they're at least interested enough in the problem we're solving to join one of our communities, okay? You also have things like research calls. So some of the earliest customers you're going to close are going to be those that you reach out to and say, hey, I'm looking to solve this problem. I think you might suffer from it. I'm looking for opinions from people like you. Do you have 20 minutes of time to spare me in order for me to just get to know you a little bit better, your world a little bit better? You can share some of your insights around this problem. And if it's of interest, I'll show you the thing that I've been working on in order to potentially get them into your beta community, okay? You can also just start discussion groups as well, which is something that most people ignore. But I was talking to a startup that we're working with recently. They're in the AI gardening space, and it's going to be a really long, complicated build process for the mobile application that we've designed with them. And I've said, don't wait until you have started to build this product before you start to close people on it. We can start a discussion group. We could start a subreddit. We could start a Discord. We could start a school community. We could start a Facebook page, anywhere that you can gather attention and put people. And what we're doing here is we're measuring, do we have enough of a powerful idea, enough of a interesting problem that we're trying to solve with our startup in order to start shining a light on that problem, on that idea, and have people join us on our journey. If you have a discussion group with 200, 300, 400 people into it, when you get your MVP launched, the question of where do you find your first customers has already been solved long before that product is ready for release. Most startups spend far too long to find product market fit, because when they're building, that is where all of their attention is. It is only on the build process. It is nowhere else in their business. And in fact, your job as the founder is actually demand generation, okay? Your job as a founder is to draw attention onto a big idea so that when you launch that product, there is a ready and waiting customer base already. So do not spend your life savings on your MVP build. Get building your community, your beta testing group. Start having research calls with your early adopters, because those are going to be the people who are easiest for you to close to become customers, okay? They're going to have the highest know-like trust factor, and you're going to be able to close those more consistently. When you add people to these groups and they spend time with you, they might start somewhere down here on this continuum. Maybe they don't really know you, they don't really like you, they don't really trust you, okay? But as they spend time in your group, talking about this idea, and you're sharing what you're doing, why you're doing, you're sharing the insights others have given them, you move them down this space here into a higher know-like trust factor position on this continuum. And by doing so, you actually lower the difficulty that you're going to have into closing that person into your product, into your company's services. I know what most of you are going to be saying. Lee, this is not scalable. I need to be able to do this through paid advertising in order to get thousands and thousands of customers. I get it. Most founders reject doing the unscalable right at the start of the business. And that's why most founders have absolutely no customers. Their ideas never make any money. They lose their life savings building their MVPs, okay? At the start, it is your job to differentiate yourself and do anything that you can in order to close customers. That means putting the work in to build the community, to build the discussion group, to have the one-to-one research calls. I promise you, every founder I've ever worked with on this process, when we've started to identify how to build know-like trust factor in an unscalable way, we close our first 100 customers in a matter of a few months. And the information we get from those first few 100 customers is what builds our marketing campaign for the next 10,000 customers. So don't reject doing the unscalable.